Today, Civil Rights Movement 2.0 and much more coming right up. Welcome to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And as always, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank the patrons. Thank you so much for all that you do and for all of your support on the channel. So we'll just take a brief moment here to recognize the patrons and thank you guys so much for being here on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So here you will find Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, the Angel Munez Variety Show, The Definition of Anarchy, Sandy K, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, and Gary L. Youngkeast Jr. Thank you so much for all that you do and all of your support on this platform. So if you're just now joining me, I'd like to thank you so much as well. And I'd like to just do a little bit of housekeeping and encourage everyone, if you are coming in, to please hit that like or that unlike button for the Channelytics. That's also a support system for the channel, and it keeps the blood flowing, if you will, for the lack of a better phrase there. Thank you guys so much. So we have quite a bit to get to today. We have, of course, this segment is entitled Civil Rights Movement 2.0. We will expound upon that throughout this particular segment, but we also have professor predictions for 2020. Even though the polls are in, the polls are always out there, but there's always the unsung, if you will, that we don't get to in these polls. And whether you want to attribute that to media manipulation or media spin, however you want to shade that, but we also will have a bit of a BLM cleanup effort and a confrontation. And also, despite one of the most tumultuous and divided Independence Days in history over the weekend, fireworks still managed to illuminate and sound even in the most purple or blue skies over the weekend. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me here on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to you, Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for all that you do. And shout out to Gary L. Youngkeast Jr. He says, housekeeping done. Thank you so much. I don't mean to torture anyone with these housekeeping rules, but it is the growing pains, I can say, of the channel. I can say, we have technocrats everywhere, and they do what they do, and then we have to do our parts. So I appreciate you guys for doing what you do. And also, we're going to start out with a little bit of what I call the JB perspective, and that comes from Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. We have talked a little bit about Dr. Peterson previously, but with everything that's in the air, with everything in the environment, okay, from politics, ideologies, what's relevant, what's not relevant? Is it easier, or is it getting harder to discern that? So offer you a little bit of perspective that's going to come from, I think, one of Dr. Peterson's newest works that he's working on. So we'll do that. We'll jump on that, and we'll start with our stories. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So I'll go ahead and start with the perspective here. Hope you guys are doing well on your Monday and that you had a safe, a relaxing, or you had a great time over the weekend. Some places, it was different. It was a different environment, different climate everywhere, if you will. I mean, some places you would think that there was absolutely no holiday, but we'll get into that later. But for now, we'll go on. We'll proceed. We'll proceed with our perspective. Oh, that's true. Thank you so much for that, Chrysler. Also, please be sure that you're still subscribed. Absolutely. Chrysler Imperial H, yes, because I'm even seeing, this is anecdotal coming from me, I'm seeing that even just some of the most, I'm not sure what, I think that there obviously is, there's a move to change all the algorithms, there's a change in the look on even some of the apps, some of the mobile apps. The page doesn't look the same. So you want to make sure that you're still subscribed. So that'll be, try to keep that in mind. Also, thank you guys so much, all of you that participated in the poll, the 2 polls that were on the community tab. Thank you guys so much for that. Also, please, hi, Crazy Chick Sheena, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for coming in and all that you do. So positive. And also, thank you so much, Luciano, for coming in. Shout out to you. Also, yes, please keep an eye on the Patreon page as well. There's going to be some more things, some new things coming there. Some new things coming there, especially with, we'll see what happens, but this is, of course, Black Spring with Autumn, the central, if you will. The nucleus is here, but also there's things on. I'm taking a little bit more risk or throwing a little bit more caution to the wind, if you will, via the Patreon. So if you could get over there. Hi, Killer Whale Channels. How are you doing this morning or this afternoon? How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for coming in. And we're going to take a look at many things. So just keep an eye on the Patreon page. There's so much happening. There's absolutely so much news without a doubt. And I'm trying to keep up with everything, and it's quite a bit. Shout out to you, Derek C. Williams. No way. Late to the party. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your time here. I really appreciate it. So once again, the last tag on the housekeeping for this first 5 or first 3 minutes. Shout out to you, Derek C. Williams. I want to say that please make sure you're still subscribed. And that's going to be, hi, Eric Chanot. Nice to see you. It's been a lifetime. So please make sure you're still subscribed, and please make sure you're still getting those notifications. And thanks again so much for everybody that participated in the polls, your feedback and your engagement. I appreciate that. And more of those will be coming out. But this initial one was very important to some of the engagement that I'm going to be bringing to the channel, because it's not just about sharing on this channel. We'd like to do some things we like to have solutions as well. We still live in a civic society as of right now, knock on wood. And I'd like to continue that engagement and bring some opportunities exclusive to you guys here. So shout out to all the patrons as well as the subscribers. I really appreciate everything. And so I'm going to go ahead and let's go on to our perspective here. Hope everybody's doing well. So we'll begin here with on the distinction between ideology and belief. Belief systems and ideologies both depend on the ability to ignore. Now, this is coming from a draft that Dr. Peterson's working on, or he's worked on, called Beyond Order. And he said 12 more rules for life. So if you guys are not familiar with Dr. Peterson, you might take a look at some of his work. I, for one, he's a clinical psychologist as well as a professor. He's been a professor at many universities. I am not, I am not, I am not trying to sell you anything. That this is just another perspective. And even though Dr. Peterson is quite clinical and he offers quite a bit of clinical, he speaks in clinical terminology, but he also has an ability to reach, if you will, on reach via layman's terms, or you can pick it up. It's just, I think it's just his way of thought or his communication. So I'll continue. This is very brief here. The ability to ignore is necessary given the incomprehensible complexity of the world. If something has proven itself irrelevant through repetition, then it can be justly ignored. Relevance is presumed, at least initially. That is why new things, new skills, new situations are overwhelming. Irrelevance is learned. What is relevant is what does not have to be taken into account during a certain time, in a certain place, and with regards to a particular starting and end point. That irrelevance is learned. The consequence of such learning is simplification. Simplification can thus be good enough. It's a toolbox whose purpose is functional interaction with the world, rather than the illusion of complete knowledge or the garnering of an unfair advantage in a game of power. A belief system is merely trying to simplify while retaining pragmatic utility. A belief system can therefore be partial, but still honest. It has purpose, which it is trying to fulfill, and the simplification it produces are directed honestly towards that fulfillment. A belief system might therefore be considered something akin to an unbiased compression algorithm. It is trying to represent a more complex reality by sampling equally across the entire domain of that reality. An ideology, on the other hand, is trying to simplify for reasons other than tool-like accuracy in relationship to stated goals. An ideology therefore throws away certain information invisibly for unstated but motivated reasons. The emergence of error, the emergence of an anomaly, further tests the distinction between a belief system and an ideology. The ideologue who is not interested in solving the problem is motivated to destroy the anomalous. For the true solver of a problem, the emergence of an anomaly is a problem to be attended to, decomposed, analyzed, and solved so that the function of the hierarchical machine can be restored. For an honest person, that's true. That's the true meaning that can be derived by genuine commitment to an organization for a goal. Can we make this work? Can we make it work faster, cheaper, better? Can we serve more people? Can we, in a word, improve and continually? That's not the striving for power, but the striving for a better world. And it is certainly the case that the functional status of the amazing infrastructure that surrounds us is absolutely dependent on those who are not striving for power, but are striving for a better world. So certainly a lot there from Dr. Peterson. And I think that's short, but it's definitely heavy. So once again, thank you guys for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. We'll see how you fare on your distinction between ideology and belief and what you see happening right now or around you. All right. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. Says ideologies can easily slip into a cult. Ask the deceased Reverend Jim Jones. Yes, I do. Right on. Shout out to you, Derek C. Williams. I do see that we have a strong pull, or a strong, we have more ideology right now, I think, than we have more ideology than we're going to be that's going to be able to survive. It's not going to be a sustainable construct, if you will, going forward. We're not going to, it's already falling apart. But with the media and the elite, which that brings me to, that's what's going to be going into on the other platform. I'm going to be doing more segments on ideologies, who's behind the ideologies, domestic terrorism. Those are kind of flammable right now, and I am certainly going to be putting some time in on that. And it's quite interesting to see who's still at large and who's trying to force their ideologies on the American people. Just we have to do this because you say, just because you say. No, we can't ask for any data, we can't ask for any facts. We just have to do what you say. You say, stick to the data, stick to the science, do this, do that, repeat after me, this. It's not gonna work well. It's already not hanging in there. It's not hanging in there together right now. And so shout out to Old Head Deuce. Let's see. Eric Chenot says ideology leads to totalitarianism. Yes, that's kind of it kind of brings me to some content that I'm working on, is that this is what, to me, that's more of what I see in the whole BLM the BLM ideology. They want, it's a dominance that they're looking for. You will be replaced. There again, everything that they say that they detest or that they're working against is the thing that they're trying to install. The thing that they push against is the thing that they're trying to release onto you. Yes. So I'll read one more comment and then we'll get into the news. Now, I will say shout out to Derek C. Williams. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Derek says, we can believe in hope. We can believe that the earth spins on its axis. Ideologies come up by man, and man wants to take over your mind and body. I can see all. I am. To see you. I'm glad to see you around here. It's nice to see you. Nothing edit, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this. And this is kind of the darker side of this. The darker side of this whole thing is this past weekend is that, it's more, we had more killings, more shootings. This is death. And that's, that kind of brought me to what I was thinking of last week and when I entitled the show Quality of Life. Do you have it? What does that mean to you? And who gets to decide what that looks like, what that is? Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate that. Nothing edited. I am trying to do all the housekeeping that I can. And I resubbed to you. So what I'm going to do is, for everybody that's in this stream, I will make sure that I go back and make sure that I am still subscribed to all of you, because I do believe that the technocrats are doing what they do. Shout out to Alien Believers. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys for helping out with the housekeeping around here. And thank you so much, Derek C. Williams, for sharing out the stream. Thank you so much. That makes a huge difference in the channelytics. And let me keep going here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And once again, I hope everybody had a great weekend, and let's move on. But with that said, I'm going to move on to some things that appear to be a little bit dark. Hi, Chaos. Shout out to you, Chaos Cutthroat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that for sharing me out. Shout out to Chaos Cutthroat. I appreciate it. So for our first order of business, now we have, according to Breitbart, we have, of course, Chicago came in again with more shootings and unfortunately more children losing their lives. And according to Breitbart, President Donald Trump, federal help ready to hit Chicago gun crime if Mayor Lightfoot ask. What are the chances? You know, I really, it's really getting to be a point of what kind of pride or what moral compass do these mayors have? I mean, just look at the strand from Seattle to Chicago. The places with the most crime are most resistant, you know, to saving lives. That's antithetical to any movement. It's completely. And thank you so much for Nothing Edited for sharing it out. And you know, and I'm going to say this, guys. You know, if you just go from the, if I can take the politics out of this, but I cannot. I can take if you just take the politics out of it. These are lives. These are lives that are being lost, and it seems to be in mass. But because there is political and globally expedient for these people that are in leadership to be in denial and to do nothing. To do nothing is silence. It's complicit. You know, BLM has all these creeds and all these affirmations. Well, you know, it's time to throw it back at them. It's time to throw it back at them. Everything that they fight, everything that they say that they don't represent, that they don't support, is exactly what they do. Is exactly what they do. So I'm just going to continue here. I'll go into a little bit of this. So, what are the chances that Lightfoot's going to ask for help? In fact, I will say this: back in 2016, right at the beginning of Trump's presidency, he did say that he wasn't going to allow what was going on to continue to go on under his watch. But I tell you, I really don't. The people in Chicago, you know, that city has seen more death than I think they're probably desensitized by now, and that's why the outrage is, you know, I think that's why the outrage is muted, because they can't help themselves. I don't know what she says to the people. I don't know what she says to the people. Are they asking her, why what are you doing to help us with this? You're a Black woman, right? What are you doing to help us? And how are these people getting elected? I mean, this isn't just a Lightfoot problem. It's not just a Lightfoot problem. So I'll keep going here, because it'll be a lifetime if I don't move on. So shout out to everybody in the stream. So according to a tweet, Trump tweeted on the 5th that Chicago and New York City crime numbers are way up. 67 people shot in Chicago, 13 killed. Shootings up significantly in NYC, where people are demanding that NYC Governor Cuomo and New York City Mayor act now. Federal government ready, willing, and able to help if asked. And so I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here. It says it should be noted that the number of shot and killed in Chicago over the 4th of July weekend rose a bit just hours after Trump sent his tweet. Now, this is according to Breitbart News. At least 70 were shot, 14 fatally by Sunday night in Mayor Lightfoot's Chicago. And of course, you know, people, oh, you want to make it political. Well, they are Democrat run. They've been Democrat control for decades. You know, they've had governors career track to do time in prison, and yet you have domestic terrorists there that are, you know, they want to rally for statues and just they have a lot of anti-American forces factors there. So I feel for the children, because that innocence that they have no idea. They have no idea where they rank in the scheme of things. They don't. You know, somebody has responsibility for them on this earth. Somebody does. But I don't see anybody taking it. I don't see anybody. I don't see it. I mean, and in some of these cases, the parents have been killed sitting right next to them. These kids have been shot by stray bullets. Stray bullets. So I'll keep going on here. So on June 25th, the Washington Post quoted him saying, now this is the Washington Post, you hear about certain places like Chicago, and you hear about what's going on in Detroit and the other cities, these cities are Democrat run. Every one of them is Democrat run. 20 out of 20. The 20 worst, the 20 most dangerous are Democrat run, end quote. Now that came from Chicago. I'll be happy to put this link into the stream for you guys. You know, listen, do your own research. You want me to do it all for you? It's probably not going to happen. But, you know, I encourage you to do your own research. And you can like and unlike and do all these things. But at the end of the day, what you walk away with, your final contention has to be, you have to take responsibility for it. I appreciate everybody for coming in. Thank you guys so much for coming in and hitting that like button and making a difference. You guys are the difference on this channel. And it's going to be an all out battle to maintain these platforms with everything that's going on. I said, what are we, less than 4 months out? Are we less than 4 months out from the election? Yes, we are, I would imagine. Or maybe we're just right at 4. By now, we're going to be going just under 4. So, and I would imagine the algorithms are going to get more. They're going to get tougher. You know, you're going to have to be more clever with what you post, or with what I post, or the whole 9 yards. So that's why I encourage everyone to, if you could continue to, hit that like button, make sure you're still subscribed. And also the Patreon option is there for you. Just check it out. And check out everybody in the stream. I'll do a quick shout out and move on to the next story. But actually, I wanted to show a quick video. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to Nothing Edited. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Shout out to Touchdown Sean. Sean says, my facts, 2,862 people were shot in Chicago in 2018. And 591 were killed. It's a staggering amount of death. Shout out to Alien Believers. Shout out to Nothing Edited. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you so much. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Shout out to Alien Believers. Shout out to Killer Whale Channels. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. If I'm duplicating your name, just take it as a part of my charm on this channel. Shout out to Eric Chanot. Thank you so much for coming in. Shout out to Chaos Cutthroat. And shout out to, I think that I'm catching up here, Luciano. Thank you so much. Gary L. Youngkees Jr. Thank you so much. That's our newest Patreon member. And also keep an eye out, guys. I will also be coming up with there will be some prototypes for some merch that I'd like to offer on the channel, as well as, yes, because I think seasons are going to change in some faction, and I'll try to have some variety there. But yeah, keep an eye on the community tab, as well as check out the Patreon community. All right, so I'll keep going here. I have a clip for you, and I thank you guys so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So we're going to move right on to our next clip here. Okay, so thank you guys so much. So
Robin, this July 4th weekend too.
Okay, I'm going to be bringing you a clip here. This is going to come from the WGN, which is their local news. And here you go. You can pick apart for yourself here, but I'm going to share this clip with you. Thank you so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.
A total of 7. A family 4th of July party Saturday night when she was shot in the forehead. Her family says she went outside to play just minutes prior to being shot. Now, this happened in the city's Austin neighborhood in the 100 block of North Latrobe. It was around agreement to a crowd watching the back. Emotions were flowing this weekend as families mourn and those who respond to those shootings reach their breaking point.
She smiles. She always tell me, I love you. About anything she asks me about, because I love
to the
of interest that they are now questioning in Natalia's shooting.
Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So there you go. You see the magnitude of what's going on in Chicago, and you see the neglect, the derelict leadership. And I don't know how these mayors can be how they cannot be held accountable for not explaining or not saying what they're doing about this. I don't know how that's acceptable to the community. I don't. I remember one of the stories I did last week in which you had Black business owners. They started out at $25,000. they have become their own crime stoppers because nothing is being done. Nothing is being done. Nothing. They started out at 25,000. They were saying if they cannot, if the 25,000 won't get you to talk, then we'll go for 50,000. I think before they were finished, they said, look, this is where we're starting, and this is where we can go. This is how far we're willing to go. I think they got up to maybe 100,000. And they were saying, I mean, the thing is, I think it's great that they are taking, it's like they're taking their own crime stop into their own hands, they've got a grassroots. And I think that might be what it's going to take. I think maybe it's time to turn the tables on the radicals and these communities. They need more teeth, and they need some funding. They need some maybe they need private policing. Maybe that's what needs to happen. I mean, I don't purport or pretend to have the solutions, but something has to happen. Something has to change. Do I have a reliable source to prove? I don't. The rapper 10,000. Right now I don't. I've had a lot of stories. But then I'll be honest, I can't even I'm not even sure if I can get my own GP to say, would he go on record for saying that? They're all reading the script, and many of them, they've been punished. They've been canceled for coming out against the CDC and Fauci and Birx, and, anybody that speaks out against them has had some challenges. I know that there's a lot of antithetical advice, I think, that we've been given. Even the whole thing of quarantining the healthy versus the sick. I don't know. I think it goes against everything that they've been trained to do. But a reliable source on it, I think I could probably come up with a reliable source, but will they go on record? And that's the difference. Who actually wants to go on record with this whole cancel culture thing going on? We're dealing with a dogmatic undertone that I think has got many people in the medical community, no matter what their integrity is, they have been silenced. Their voices are being squelched. So we'll see what happens. So I'm going to continue here. So I really hope that Chicago, that maybe there will be some answers for Chicago and for those kids. The kids. So shout out to everybody that's in the stream, and I will move on because I have something else I want to change the direction here for just a second here. Now we also had over the weekend, I think, someone that was just fed up. She was fed up, and I think she said, it's time to clean up. I'm tired of this. So I'm fed up. I'm going to clean up. And I think she was pretty bold. So shout out to everybody in the stream. I'm going to share this with you right now. Hope everybody's doing well. She's taking on the signage, taking on BLM signage.
We're sick of this narrative. That's what's wrong. Yeah, the narrative of police brutality, the narrative of lie. This is racism is what it is. That's what it is. There is no oppression. There is no racism. I don't give a fuck who you are. You know what? All lives matter, dude. I ain't fucking down for this bullshit.
Until Black Lives Matter, no lives matter.
Yeah, all lives matter. All lives matter. That's right.
Shut the fuck up with that fucking opinion. You're fucking wrong, lady.
You know we're not good kids in fucking cages right now. That's
Shut the fuck up. That's not happening, okay?
Yes, it is. Bitch, I will smack the fuck out of
You know what?
The
The only reason why you're crying, why people cry police brutality, people are resisting arrest. Don't have a run-in with the law and don't resist arrest. It won't be a problem.
That's not what's happening. They literally kneeled on that poor black man's face.
Yeah, I know. Nobody agrees with that. I don't agree with that either. That was wrong.
Okay, so then?
That was
wrong. Why are you painting over Black Lives Matter if you said that was wrong?
All lives matter.
No.
I think your life matters just as much as mine.
Then why are you painting over it? Becky, get the fuck out of here. You really worried about something? Go get the fucking kids out of those cages. If you really want to know. Post it. That's not a protest, that's vandalism. This is vandalism.
I got the permits for it, bro.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining me on this segment of Black Swing. I do apologize for the. I do apologize. It says, part. Going on here, because there again, that's going against the narrative, right? You have someone out that's literally rejecting the affirmations, rejecting the rejecting the repeat after me. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll keep it on this screen for just a bit because I really don't want to have to restart this stream. But I'll just keep going. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this segment of Black Spring. Shout out to Old Head Dissent, Derek C. Williams. Hope you guys are doing well. So we'll keep going here. Oh, I'll take another opportunity to shout out the loyal patrons and also keep an eye on the Patreon community as well as the Black Spring community tab, because I'll be putting out more polls and I'd love to have your guys' engagement on that. Once again, shout out to patrons, Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, the Angel Muniz Variety Show, Derek C. Williams, The Definition of Anarchy, Sandy K, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, and the newest family member, Gary L. Youngkeith Jr. Thank you so much for all of your support. And we will continue. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Thank you so much for all that you do. Let's see. Yeah, they're trying to, the Rapper 10,000, they're doing nothing. They're doing no different than any other terrorist group, whether you think of Taliban or whomever. They're trying to, you don't accept their ideology, then they're going to destroy you. And they're going to replace it with theirs. There is no negotiation here. They're not about negotiating. You know, they have yet to present an agenda or solutions. You know, you're calling out, they just, affirmations. I mean, we went over some of those affirmations last week, but I'm doing something else with that on my other platform. So thank you guys so much for coming in. Shout out to you. Shout out to Chrysler. This is before they started taking down statues, did you go back and read the history for these so-called protesters, or should I say vandals, tear down statues? They should go back and read history on them first and leave the statues alone. Well, and to that end, I don't know if you guys, I did play a little bit of the speech, President Trump's speech from Rushmore, and he did say that, you know, I think he's doing another executive order on maybe something like a garden of Americans. So there's going to be a vast park that's going to be created, and I'm sure the details about that will come out later. But I do think, you know, that it's important to preserve history. I just know that, you know, you can't, unless they're going to, the ones that have already done damage, unless those are going to be stopped, you know, it's not gonna, I don't think they'll be able to go on to a park that's dedicated. I don't think they won't be able to seep through that system and do their vandalism and their desecration. So shout out to everybody. But there again, that is authentic history that has been desecrated and destroyed, and you name it. Some of that I think is irreparable, the amount of damage that's been done. So I'm going to keep going here. All right. So there again, this is more about, we're going to take a look at something from the Black Lives Matters and the whole idea that I'm talking about, the civil rights movement 2.0, because it looks like everybody is going to make a case that this is my question. You know, is America going to retry cases under the paradigms of this BLM or the cancel culture? Or is everybody going to be retried? Is everybody going to be reevaluated based on police brutality, systemic racism? These are all terms that have been coined by the elite Can I say these hippies, these rich hippie types? Chicago's full of them. Full of them. You know, they have, you know, somebody figured out that they could make money, that there's a new wave of opportunity for people to make money off of Black people. They don't care whether they are destroying their own neighborhoods or they don't care. But it's an attractive thing. You know, they keep coming up with all their little pet projects for Blacks. Pet projects for their pets is the way they treat Blacks. In Chicago, you've got a ton of people that you've got avowed domestic terrorists that have made a career. They're willing to do time to make the unimaginable possible. But they're also doing, but the Black people are at the center of what they're doing. At the center of the agenda. So here we are. This next piece comes from the weforum.org. And here again, this is why I submit that there is a new civil rights. And the left and the progressives, they want to be able to say, just like the 1960s and the 1964 and 1965 civil rights and voting rights were passed, somebody wants to be able to hitch another to the Civil Rights and the Voting Rights Act. They hitched that to the Black voter base. Now they're working on another voter base. I think it's twofold. There's something else going on with that. But according to this article, I'll go ahead and share this with you guys on screen. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to the rapper 10,000 who says more Black people have died under Black Lives Matter and Democrat controlled areas. Yes, of course. Of course. I mean, really, when you think about it, it's really not that much different from, if you just look back in history of all the things that were done. It's like when Black people were gaining some advancement or prosperity, it's like you'd have this force that would come along and do something to undercut and undermine, to destabilize them. Well, what do you think BLM is doing? You know, their affirmations say clearly they are committed to dismantling the nuclear family. For one, that's already been done, right? It's already been done by the same people who claim they were helping them. It's already been done. If you remove the fathers from the home, you are destabilizing that home. You are dismantling the stability. You are creating a tougher situation for that mother to provide for those children. So why would anybody subscribe or submit to, why would anybody wave a banner in the name of that? Why? And some people call that, I'm not the originator of this, what is it, low information voters, low information supporters, just blindly walking around here with a fist in the air. So I'll go ahead and share the screen with you guys. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Hope you guys are doing well. So I'm going to share this particular article. And then here again, you've got your new historians already labeling and marketing this. Okay. So this is entitled, Have We Finally Reached a Moment of Promise and Possibility on Race? Of course, you can see here, we who believe in freedom, that's a protest here. Okay. And this is apparently written by Lonnie Bunch. He's a secretary of the Smithsonian Institution. While black, quote, while black, end quote, is a shorthand for racial profiling so prevalent in the United States that African Americans have almost universally experienced it. The verbs that accompany the phrase represent the most mundane activities of everyday life, But when added to, those two words denote racial profiling that leads to potentially deadly confrontations with police. Quote, driving while black, end quote, jogging while black, end quote, or even, quote, barbecuing while black, end quote. Ubiquitous cell phone use and social media have more widely exposed the phenomenon, but it is nothing new, even to me. Okay. So I assume that this is an anecdotal from Lonnie Birch's perspective. During the summer of 67, I was 14 years old in my town of Belleville, New Jersey, looking forward to playing football my freshman year of high school and doing the normal things kids do, that awkward transition from adolescence to adulthood. Much of my education outside of school came from time spent in Newark, where I explored Black life in the way that was not possible in a predominantly white suburb of Belleville. Whether going with my family to Clinton Memorial Church or to relatives' backyard cookouts or hanging out at Coleman's barbershop to hear the patrons' colorful stories, Newark seemed like a place of possibility and promise. I would shortly realize how rosy that perception was. Okay, so he says civil unrest had broken out in Newark in a response to police arresting and beating a black taxi driver for a minor traffic violation. It was what Martin Luther King Jr. had recognized when he called riots the, quote, language of the unheard, end quote, a result of the city's unresolved racial tension and oppression, emblematic of the conditions that spurred more than 150 such uprising across the country during that, quote, long, hot summer, end quote. As I was walking through Belleville the following evening, a police car pulled in front of me, blocking my path as I crossed a neighborhood street. The officer ordered me to stop, and when I did, he pushed my face down onto the hood of his car, holding me there and demanding that I turn over my matches. Confused, I explained that I did not smoke since I played football. He increased the pressure on my arms and accused me of coming over to Belleville from Newark to set fires. His assumption was that I was a rioter, a criminal, an arsonist. It was only when he heard my last name, one that he recognized, that he let me go, no apology or explanation. At that moment, I realized that race would define me to others, irrespective of where I lived, what I did, or what kind of grades I got. I also came to the understanding, the disturbing truth, that I could have been another statistic. What if he had not recognized my name? What if he did not care whether or not I was from Belleville? These are the kinds of thoughts that begin to enter the front of your mind once you've become a parent and you realize you'll have to have, quote, the talk, end quote, your parents gave you. The talk that all African Americans' parents give their kids. The talk to desperately try and prevent your own child from becoming another name on a protester's sign. Okay, so then here I'm going to round out this one. He says, watching George Floyd's life ebbing away from those unbearable 8 minutes and 46 seconds, seeing subsequent acts of police brutality unfold before our eyes, reading news accounts about other violence and intimidation against Black people in all walks of life, all are enough to make us question whether things have changed much in the past 5 decades. So then he's going on to talk about lasting change. And I'll give you just a little bit of this context. Now, this is coming from the weforum.org agenda, which to me, they are very much, this is a very much socialist, a very much a global view or global preset in their tone. Most of their articles tell you exactly, it's a roadmap as to what's going on. It's very much in alignment with UN Agenda 21, 2030. I've often, referred many people on this channel, just hop on to un.org. You don't have to guess what's next. You don't have to, the source is there. If you want to see it, if you want to see it in writing, you want to see what the Democrats support, there it is. There it is. So here it is. Here's his last segment on this, is hope for lasting change. I find myself feeling a cautious optimism, though. This feels like something new. A snapshot in time that we will look back upon as the moment when people were fed up and society rose up to claim in a unified voice, quote, enough, end quote. And that's where, you know, to me, this is, the narrative is already, it's already folding. All right. A couple of things give me hope for lasting change. The first is a diverse coalition of protesters. When you see huge crowds of mostly white faces in the states like Utah and countries like Germany, it's not hard to see that this is something new. People of all ages, races, background, and socioeconomic statuses are participating. That's called optics. Okay, that's it. You know, there is geopolitical advantage because it's more about communism. It's not. This is not about the progression or the advancement of Black people. I really think that is a false. It's a false equivalency to the previous civil rights movement, or to what those leaders were fighting for. It's not the same thing. So the other positive development is the way polls have consistently shown dramatic shifts in public attitude. One survey showed the favorability of Black Lives Matter movement sharply increasing in the US during the first couple of weeks of protest, with favorability nearly doubling. Another recent poll showed that 76% of Americans now see racism and discrimination as a, quote, big problem. That is 26 points higher than it was just 5 years ago. For the moment to be truly transformative, this massive grassroots movement needs to morph into the kind of organization seen during the civil rights movement, when long-term goals and legislative strategies were paired with fearless activism of the freedom riders. If this generation can put consistent pressure on the institutions necessary to reform wide swaths of society, the criminal justice system, housing, education, and the economy, we could really see change that endures. We are beginning to be reminded of the effectiveness of the civil rights marches of the 60s, with large, sustained demonstrations once again moving people to rethink their entrenched opinions and convincing lawmakers to enact policy that reflects popular will. In the past few weeks alone, the broad coalition of people standing up for equality and justice has brought about some dramatic results, some of which I never believed possible. Oh, well, here we go. Now, here it comes. Eliminating the Aunt Jemima name and image, one of at least 9 such recent corporate moves. May seem largely symbolic, but racist stereotypes are more than symbolic. In this case, they are hurtful relics of an age in which Black people were relegated to servitude. And no more odious symbol persists than those that venerate the Confederacy. As of 2016, approximately 1,500 public celebrations of the Confederacy, monuments, public school names, state holidays, and others were found in 31 states, which is shocking when you consider that there were only 11 Confederate states. These two are going away, with everything from statues to military base names being recognized as celebrations of white supremacy, not remembrances of heritage. Now, whenever I drive through Alexandria, Virginia, I no longer will become angry and discouraged by a statue of a Confederate soldier prominent in the center of town. It is now relegated to history, as it should have been long ago. All right, so it's not much more of this. I hope your strong stomach here. Okay, other changes have begun to address systemic racism. Several companies have abandoned efforts to use and develop facial recognition software, which has been shown to incorrectly identify African American, Native American, Asian faces at a much greater rates than Caucasian faces. There has been a push to ban the use of dangerous chokeholds in police forces. From Denver to Washington, D.C., the Dallas Police Department has adopted a rule requiring officers to intervene if another officer uses excessive force. Professional athletes and coaches sent a letter to Congress asking to end legal protections for police officers who have violated people's civil rights. Physician groups have declared racism a public health crisis. Now, you guys get the propaganda here. It's it's pretty heavy. This is, I mean, but you can see this is where these ideologies are coming from. This is the rhetoric and the symbolism is what they focus on here, as you can see. I'll keep going here. Despite these gains, it is instructive to remember that periods of racial progress, like Reconstruction or the post-civil rights movement era, have been met with violent backlash to preserve the status quo. To maintain the momentum, all who value a just society must apply pressure to the forces that would take us backwards and gloss over our tortured racial history. As individuals and companies and institutions, and as a country, we must put our collective shoulders into holding the nation to its promise as a beacon of liberty, justice for all, and justice for all. As Frederick Douglass famously said, quote, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress," end quote. Throughout my life, I've chosen history as my preferred weapon to fight for equality and social change. I have had the great privilege of doing so with the first National Museum dedicated to telling the American story through an African-American lens. And now I have the honor of leading the entire Smithsonian, a massive repository of research, scholarships, collections, and intellectual capital. With those kinds of resources, we can create platforms like the, quote, "Talking About Race," end quote, portal that helps contextualize what this moment means, inspiring dialogue about race and its multifaceted impact on American experience is critical if we are ever to get where we want to be as a society. And finally, as someone who has experienced the indignities of racism in ways subtle and overt, I nevertheless see hopeful signs. Black people are being listened to like never before. Our experience is no longer casually dismissed. Perhaps society has finally come around to what civil rights icon Ella Baker said nearly 50 years ago, quote, "Until the death of a Black mother's son is as important to this country as the death of a white mother's son, we who believe in the freedom cannot rest." I think that perhaps for the first time in my life, the people unwilling to rest may outnumber those who would prefer to remain asleep. Visiting Lonnie Birch and his works, or doing more research on Lonnie Birch, but I think that's more than enough. I just, this is not his 1960s. I don't care what is. This is not your 1960 America. It's just not. And it's more than, I think it's more than irresponsible for people to keep trying to, he keeps, he mentioned this is something new. No, it's not new. It's actually something, it's a new agenda. It's a new agenda on something old. The tactics are new, might be new, but it's not what's happening here is not new. Most of these people, if you even go into some of these abolitionists, I mean, if you listen to some of these people, these radical, these big time organizers, you are not legit to them unless you are radical. And that comes from many elite. Okay. Shout out to everybody in the stream. But when people write, I mean, everybody's experience is unique and it's different. There's no denying that. But for anybody to say that this is the 1960s America or the 1970s America, it's not. The same circumstances that surrounded the 60s and the 70s, no. And if he thinks Black Lives Matter, it's just the con. It's the con. They know that Black Lives Matter has nothing to do with what they're purporting. It has nothing to do with it. It's a front. So I can't, I mean, it's hard to read something like that. I mean, of course, okay, so yeah, your experience was tumultuous. It was dark. It was definitely discrimination. It was definitely wrong. But then to say that you somehow believe that what people are doing right now is somehow going to be more powerful, or the people that you see. There were people that protested back in the 60s that were of diverse background. The NAACP, many of these places were started by white liberals. So if they really had your best interest at heart, if they really had Black people's best interest at heart, why is it that so many of the things that they had their hands in, and so many things that they've done, why did it do the opposite 5 decades later? And who's behind this? It's another bunch of liberals and another bunch of radical organizers that are behind it. The NEA is behind this. These are the supporters of BLM. This is a teachers union, National Education Association. Bill Ayers. You don't know who Bill Ayers is? That's an interesting character. Okay. You got your elites, you got some Princeton University supporters behind it, the typical. And I've told you guys before that these same people the same elite are writing the books, they're training the teachers, they're doing they're doing the same indoctrination that they've been doing since the 60s. There's nothing new about what there's nothing new. They're just using different optics and different tactics. They're using affirmations to push another agenda. It's more of a communist agenda. It's not really about Black lives. I'm not convinced. I'm going to read a few comments here. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Thank you guys for enduring that, but that was a lot. I mean, I don't really, you can see exactly where a lot of these liberals and these elite, where they're coming from with these types of websites, because they tell you exactly what they're trying. They tell you exactly what this is their narrative. They give you all this rhetoric, which I got to give it to Lonnie Bunch. He definitely had a balance of rhetoric, and he had definitely a balance of, he had a lot going on there. He's giving you his credibility via the Smithsonian, but it doesn't make it any less true that BLM is not really promoting, it's not saving they're not saving Black lives. If they're not saving Black lives, then how do Black lives matter? Shout out to everybody in the stream. Yes, Derek C. Williams says Bill Ayers penned Obama's first book and famously stepped on the flag and I believe idiot Lil Wayne did the same. Well, like I said, Bill Ayers is a project that I'm working on. His language is laced. His language is everywhere. His wife, these people are rich elite, and they treat Black people like, we got a little pet project for you. We'll get the governor to give you some money. Run along now until we come up with the next project. It's pretty sick. Chrysler says, what I hear wasn't a rope at all. It wasn't a serpentine built off of an engine. Okay, I'm coming in off of the wrong. Yes, Weather Underground, William Ayers bombing stuff. Yeah, I'm saying these people are still at large, is what I'm saying. These people are still at large. Their affiliates are still at large. They're mentoring people that have been the infiltration in our government. People in our government have been mentored by these people. What do you guys think that means? People that hate the American way. They hate everything about the country. And they've got the money to, they can finance underground heat. They've got the money to do that with. But there's always a pet project for Blacks when it comes to elites. But it always leads back to destruction. Should I say wake up? Would I be remiss if I said wake up if I didn't say it? Or it's funny, I haven't heard anything from Obama lately. I did read an article someplace that said that, I probably can find it for you guys. He said that the protests needed to continue so that Biden could win, which was pathetic. It's like, why are you still talking? Why are you still talking? I tell you, it's one thing that stands out. It's like he's had the most to say of any president. And like you're not there anymore. You're not president anymore. Is anybody going to tell him that on the left or the right? I say he's running interference all the time. He's tipping his hat to everything that's going on, all this division. And then this is my thing, I'm going to tell you, I would say, I'm speaking to the HBCU right now. That's off the topic. But I'm saying, it's funny how Trump was the one that provided funding. Like, you've got the funding. Your funding is established now. You don't have to go to the White House with your hat in your hand, like you go into the bank back in the day, back in the 50s or 60s, to ask the banker for money. He's made an establishment there's an endowment for the HBCUs. But then when you have commencement, the HBCUs, guess who they pick to do the commencement? Hi, Garrett Reed. Thank you so much for coming in. So my thing is, I don't know who's working with the president on, if you will, this outreach kind of a bit, but I'm like, okay, please don't get hoodwinked. Okay, it's like, not to say that the HBCUs don't deserve the funding, but you got to understand, you can't just throw money. You can't throw money at the HBCUs like that. You really need somebody on the ground, and that'll be where the rubber meets the road. Because if to let an outsider into the HBCUs to see how they're actually run, that's where you're going to find out how their funds are how what they've had has been managed. I have plenty of experience with the HBCU, so I'm not speaking out of my my pities or anything. I've got full circle experience. And I'm going to say this, and this is probably an inflammatory. The HBCUs are run like liberal cities. So I'm saying if you want to help, you can't get hoodwinked. You can't get hoodwinked. In order for them to sustain, they're not going to be able to sustain their funding if they're shut down. I don't believe they are going to be able to, if they have to have a semester of being shut down or a year of being shut down, they won't survive. I think it's going to be much more difficult. So like I said, I'm not sure who's on these teams. I just think that there's still a huge disconnect. There's a huge disconnect in that funding. And with everything that's going on, with people are anticipating, we think there's going to be more COVID-19 issues for the fall. I don't think that they're going to be able to survive a shutdown. I don't. So I don't know how I got on the HBCUs, but that's a tough subject. But I think there's a huge disconnect when you're reaching out to people, and when you're trying to hold on to those institutions. And that's that on that. So I'll round out this segment. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to the Definition of Anarchy. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for coming in. I may do something on the HBCU at some point, but I mean, there's 99 problems right now, right? 99 issues. But I'm just thinking, if you really want to help, you got to get it. You got to get in there and get to the root. You got to get in there and get to the root to save those institutions, because they've had problems. They've had financial issues for years. And I don't know if that's aside from the funding that they've received, or I know, like I said, I know of some other things, some specific things, but to sustain those institutions, they need some other assistance, is what I submit. So shout out to Touchdown Sean. Derek C. Williams says, idiot Andre Young, Dr. Dre, I believe, gave $46 million to USC, to my knowledge. Nothing to Mississippi Valley State University or Howard or Simmons College. It happens. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Let's see. Ooh. The Rapper 10,000 says, are HBCUs racist to me? That's a good question. I want to say that, like I said, I'm going to be honest, I have to think about it a little bit. I mean, I could give you an answer, but I'm not going to give you one without this is what I will say. The HBCUs at the time, it was paramount. I believe there was a time where it was paramount. And but I will tell you, even the vision of the founders of many of the HBCUs, it's not been upheld. They have not lived up to the standards that they established at the beginning and where they are now. I'm not happy with where they are now. I'm gonna say that. I will say they are not where they need to be, I think they were more than relevant and more than valid. I think in order to maintain them, something else has to be done. But in terms of race, I can't say that I believe do I fully believe they're racist? No, because of when they came about and what was necessary. There was a significant need for education, for colleges, for teachers. There was a need for education. Those opportunities were necessary. I mean, like I said, that's another show. That's another show, and I think it's a great topic. I think it is, and I'm not sure how many people have. I'm sure there's a lot of perspective on it. I think there's a lot of perspective on those institutions. But yeah, but not this show. Not this show. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the question there. It's a great question. I will say, yeah, a lot of Black people have had experiences with HBCUs. And I'm going to stop before I get into it anymore, because there's a lot of There's like there's a today the HBCU, just like everything else, it kind of goes back to the same context. The way things were established and the needs then, the needs now, and the environment, the climate, it's so different. Some of the tones I think are inappropriate. Some of the tones are very inappropriate. But like I said, that's a totally different show, but no less. Probably to me, I think that's one of the greatest conversations. That's one of the conversations that never nobody ever really talks about these things. They don't. And I think people are afraid to touch it because of the racial tensions, the racial issues. They're not going to touch it. Let's see. Crazy Chick Sheena. Let me just see. I'm going to read some comments here. It says, I was too white at HBCU. Not, they gave me a nickname, Black White Girl. They were so colorist and racist at HBCUs. Well, see, that's a rough, that's the sad part about it, because there again, that's a whole different, that's a total, that ecosystem has a life of its own. And that's why it's not something that I'm going to speak on lightly. That's not something I'm going to do, because I have my own experiences. And absolutely right on. A definition of anarchy says the rapper 10,000. That's interesting considering Black women have the highest graduation rates in the country, highest GPAs too. Yes, because you're right. The stats, I've done some study on the stats in which came from the Department of Labor statistics, that more women have bachelor's and degrees and higher. When you compare it to the rest, when you compare it to the men, when you compare it to men, the men and women stats say that the women, and there's also the stat that says that there are more Black women in the workforce. And it says that the Black men are on a decline in the workforce. Now, I would imagine that some of these things are recorded based on what the unemployment offices, those who seek maybe even the resources that are out there for being unemployed during your time of being unemployed, and what they report. I'm not sure exactly what methods they're using to record these stats, but I do think that they're probably accurate. I think that there are, there's a lot to learn, a lot of perspective to be gained from the stats from the Department of Labor statistics. And you can check them out in comparison to the rest of the country. So shout out to everybody in the stream. So, but I would say, I don't condone ostracizing anyone. I don't, and I don't conform, and I'm not a proponent of hate of hate white people speeches all day long over the radio. I do not support any of that. I've been in places where they do that. I have. Do I think it's the thing that they should be doing? No. And in fact, sometimes I even question some people that work in places that deal with that, like they're doing this regularly, I mean, and I've heard some professors even get frustrated at the HBCU level about that kind of talk. Everybody wants to be proud of their career and where they work and what they do, but they don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to be told all day long they're the oppressor. They don't. If you got a question about their morality or their ethics, then don't hire them. Use your committee to hire someone else. But you're not going to get the best out of people if you're beating them down for whatever. So shout out to everybody in the stream. My gosh, we're talking about HBCUs. Heavy, heavy, heavy. I don't know how do we get to that? Let me get to the next topic. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Shout out to the rapper 10,000. Shout out to the Definition of Anarchy. Shout out to Touchdown Sean. Let's see. Let me read this. Let me read this comment. I'm going to do shout out to Derek C. Williams. Last month was Black Music Month of Black Museum in Washington, National Association of Black Journalists, Congressional Black Caucus, all because Blacks were shut out. Well, the one thing I will say, Derek C. Williams, that there's much to be desired from the Congressional Black Caucus. I think they've done nothing. They've made a career out of. To me, I kind of put them on the same track with the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons. I mean, you've got people that have been in Congress for decades. I mean, Sheila Jackson Lee, you got the new squad. I'm not even sure, did what's her name make the cut? What's her name? Ilhan Omar? Is she allowed to be in the Black Caucus? I don't know. Is it Cory Booker? And I even think Kamala Harris is riding that wave. I think she's in the caucus now. I mean, ay. You know, the thing about history is like it's just. I think just because we have leadership, you have to know what they stand for. No matter what context, you know, even if it's whether it's a historical context, the economic context, you know, we've had a lot of successful people, and their politics pretty much tells the story. Yeah, Kamala, you know, I think she just pretty much, she's kind of like a Colin Kaepernick to me. I'm wondering how close is she to nailing down the VP, or, I mean, how much longer is that going to be? How much longer is that going to go? Because I think, what's her name? Klobuchar bowed out. I think Bottoms from Atlanta, I think that I presume she has some aspirations. I don't know if it's gubernatorial or if she really has a high shot at getting the VP pick, or I think Stacey Abrams might be out all the way. So let me keep going here. I'm going into, let's see. Derek C. Williams, Definition of Anarchy. Shout out to you guys. Crazy Chick Sheena. Cold War Jesus. I'm sorry, I missed I don't know if I got your comment. And this is in the 70s. I worked for the Urban League and the United Farm Workers, and both looked much better from the outside than the inside. Ooh, that's interesting. Love to hear more about that, Cold War Jesus. That sounds really interesting. That's kind of up there with when I learned that I think when, like, Dr. Thomas Sowell, he had a short run of working for the government, and the things that he learned, that is one of the most influential thinkers of our lifetime, Dr. Thomas Sowell. And I think he stays away because the media is so deceptive. They do not print. They don't print what you say. There's no veracity in there. By the time I think that was one of the main things that he said. That's why he stopped doing so much column writing and so many things, or so many interviews. And I think now he's a fellow maybe at the Hoover Institute, but he's still fantastic. Very, very sharp. I think he just pretty much just like any debates with him, it's just kind of just like, it's you gotta watch it. You have to watch it. There's nothing that I can say that would do anything justice. Let's see. Getting off subject a little bit. I'm reading your comment, Chrysler. Getting off the subject a little bit. Black Spring with Autumn. Did you see what happened in Newport Beach over the weekend with the waves? No, I did not. I didn't see that. I didn't see it. I will tell you that, we had lots of fireworks around here, as what I do remember from over the weekend. And I know that the Bay area got canceled, and I think we had three other cities that were doing something. Derek C. Williams says, "I'm Black and I'm proud." A song needed to boost Black morale. Why? Because Blacks were shut out. Let's see. Kamala Harris up here in San Fran has a pretty bad rep for being self-serving. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, I'm wondering how she's going to play that down, or is she just going to roll out or what's she going to do? Have a Too Short concert? Is that what she's going to take a picture out of? She's already taken a page out of Hillary Clinton's book with the pantsuits. She added Tupac and Too Short. She says Too Short's on her playlist. And I'm just thinking, wow, somebody really gave her a script. She just during that whole campaign, during the whole primaries, she just never left home without the Black card narrative, and it just not authentic. I mean, people recognize things when they don't quite add up. They just don't. They just, they don't. I mean, and then she's super pro-abortion. Her whole platform, her platform was reproductive health, which is a detriment to the Black community. So I think she's in no man's land. I don't know. I think that, people have already got it in for her. They already know. Crazy Chick Sheena said she played Tupac. Come to find out she was lying. Tupac was not out when she was right. I was like, my gosh. Like, I started just trying to if you just tried to put that in context, just really quickly, you couldn't. It's like, why associate yourself with? I'm just saying, like, obviously she called a college professor maybe and tried to figure out what could she say on the radio station. What was that? The Breakfast Club that she went on? And then, the Breakfast Club, they're kind of notorious for having that type of personality on. I think I will say I didn't play any of this, but I do believe that Angela Stanton King delivered a blow to them. Now, whether you're a fan of hers or not, I mean, I think she made more than valid points, and I think she could support her arguments. But I would say that they probably won't have her back on. They will not have Angela Stanton King back on, because I think she was locked and loaded. And I think she was so locked and loaded that even they were retreating. They had to retreat into, well, I just don't agree with you. I strongly disagree. It was just funny. It's funny that, some people were like, oh, wow, they really are misinformed. They don't care. It's, they don't care that they're misinformed. They reach a large audience, and they need to say they need to say, they've got sponsors too. So, they can't be on there saying that they support nuclear families or that they're anti, abortion. They can't do that. or they'd be like DOA, right? Whether they believe the stuff that comes out of their mouth or not, they can't do it. They cannot do that on the air. Which I think that they're, I think she exposed a lot about them at the same time. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Let's see. Derek says, I'm partial to the MCs that came out of Leimert Park of Los Angeles. Okay, so Cold War. I'm really curious about this. Let's see. United Farm Workers' hidden agenda was La Raza. The Urban League looked like a group using race to prove themselves with high-paying jobs. Their admin costs were sky high. Yeah, I would love to look into that. Yeah, we've heard that. I mean, that's a triggering phrase or to use. Let's see. Derek C. Williams. Sean says she kicked their butts on the Breakfast Club. I saw the interview. Yes, that was certain. That was really, I think she was like, she pretty much when she had time, she called them out, but then she could never really talk about her platform and what she's trying to do in Georgia, which was a disservice, because she would stop them. She's like, okay, now we're back on Trump. I'm trying to talk to you. You brought me here because I'm running for Georgia, but all you want to talk about is why am I loyal to Trump and how can I support this and da 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 da. And I'm just, she rarely, I don't think she got 5 minutes in. Didn't even get 3 minutes in on her campaign. I think it was more like a tag out, final words, ended up being that she's running for the 5th district in Georgia. So, but I think she's a pistol, for the lack of a better word, for when she's on her convictions, somebody prepared her really well. But I just think that, that particular show, they were no match for her. On another show, it'll be interesting to see her candidacy and her develop and debate people, because I think she did well on that. But but the thing about it is the left, their talking points are so predictable. They go to the same talking points. And then what studies are they quoting? Where are you getting this information from? I feel, well, somebody feels like this or somebody feels like that. You feel like a grapefruit today, but by tomorrow you might feel like a banana. It's more the postmodern. It's just, it's like people want to do away with truth. They want to do away. They want the imagination. They want to run this country on people just doing with no bounds and just totally ignoring. They'll tell you you're a science denier, but the whole argument goes up once you give them some science on their agenda or on their ideology. Let's see. Derek says Leonard McKelvey, aka Charlemagne. Oh wow, yeah, I remember hearing about that. And whatever happened to that story? I think somebody ended up coming to his defense. Was it Kamala? It seems like, was it Kamala Harris that kind of came to his defense, or was it what's her name, Angela Rye? I put this assortment in the same and in similar categories. Let's see. Chrysler says, to me, it feels like the Breakfast Club is destroying President Trump and doesn't care about who else is running for his different policies. Yet, see, that's a good point, because many people, Well, what anybody but Trump. That's the kind of rhetoric you have to deal with. Anybody but Trump. Kermit the Frog, are you running? And that's how, I hate to submit, is that how we've gotten the leaders in the past? Let's see. Cold War Jesus says, I've seen a lot of smart people, but Thomas Sowell is one of the very smartest and well-reasoned. Yes. And I mean, it's really impressive to see the thinkers, the Black or the African-American thinkers. But, I think they've kind of retreated because they can see what's happening. They can see what's happening. I mean, honestly, they probably, because they saw it in its infancy, They've watched the educators become social workers or become activists over the years. They've watched it all. And then I think after a certain point, I think Dr. Thomas Sowell was, I'm not sure when he retired, but I think he retired from his professorship. I think maybe he just kind of got tired of battling these people, because it'll wear on you. You can tell when somebody's given it their all, or they've researched and they've got there and they know and they're well informed. You can tell the difference between that than somebody that's just raw emotions or erratic emotions, or just radical. The rapper says, this lockdown is making me more angry, and no facts to be found that it is not apostrophe. I mean, sorry guys, I'm stuck in a moment. Fact checked by the left. Charlemagne the bootlicker, says the rapper. And let's see. Shout out to Console Fix. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Console Fix. Nice to have you around. And Derek C. Williams, for my money, Dr. Claude Anderson, as good as it gets with regards to racial matters. Very smart. Yes, that's definitely he's definitely well known, and I think I've been, I don't know, I will say that I will say he's well known, but I think that unfortunately, I think that in some of these climates and some of the environments, I think it just depends on, I don't know, I think he should be more well known than he is, because I didn't hear of Dr. Claude Anderson, not right away. Not in the ways that I think I should have. And maybe that's on me, but there's a lot of information out there. There's not a lifetime is not enough. And I say that about music and many things. A lifetime is not enough. Let's see. What office are you running for, Mickey Mouse? Shout out to Chrysler Imperial Age. So I appreciate you guys so much for coming in. Kamala Harris put so many Black people away in jail for small offense in San Francisco and Oakland. Yes, she did. And I hope that people will do their own research, because people are counting on you not doing your own research. They're counting on it. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to round out here in the next 10 minutes. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys and your patience and all the wonky technology struggles. I really appreciate it. Let's see. The rapper had a comment. Let's see. The media here is a modern day lynch mob who acts like the KKK, censor people who they don't like, and the web has gotten it worse. Which, see, I'm going to be honest, I'm not convinced that everything that I'm being, because, they kicked me all the way off. I was kicked all the way off of the StreamYard, and I just, and I ended up coming back in another way, but I never let the stream drop all the way. So, you just have to be a little bit more savvy, a little shadow boxing, when you're doing these live streams or whatever you're doing. So let's see, the Cold War Jesus says, Thomas has done quite a few interviews with the Hoover Institute. Very interesting stuff on broad range. So yes. Very much, very much. And it's interesting, his background. His background is very interesting to me. And as with, as with many of the great thinkers, I think we really need to hold on to it. But see, that's the thing, the rapper, we don't have a tendency to celebrate people that are thinkers. We don't. And I'm not just speaking just from the Black community. I'm just saying overall, we push the pop culture, the culture industry is what's pushed. People thinking and being creative, they don't push that. That's not something that's promoted. It's like sometimes I want to ask the kids, like, when was the last time you All right, guys. So there again, see, point well taken. As soon as I think I'm out, I'm up here in about 5. But now use code words instead of saying the actual words. Those with you guys in the stream before we get started, because some of these code words are not going to go away, because we have the same issues every day pretty much. So over the weekend, what do we have? So I'm going to put the camera back onto this one. I think that works a little bit better. So yeah, so shout out to everybody. Please make sure that you are still subscribed to the channel. And make sure that you hit the like button or the unlike button. Appreciate you guys for everything. Oh, shout out to you, Touchdown Sean. That's most generous of you. Well, it's I try to be kind to the language because, you know, I try to be kind to the language. Sometimes that's difficult because I think we are, you know, we're primed to, you know, we've all grown up around some level of journalism. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing right now, but it's definitely lacking veracity. But yeah, so that's what's going on. So I guess we'll go back to code words like beer virus and what do you want to do? What do we? Yeah, we can go back to that, or what did I call it before? Crowd disease. So if you hear me say that, that's probably what it's going to be on that. Some of the other things, we'll see. I'll come up with some other things here. Rapper 10,000, shout out to you. Says a lot of black songs are code, including other historical documents. Cold War Jesus. Let's see. Thank you so much, Cold War Jesus. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you so much for being such a strong supporter. And thank you guys so much again for participating in the polls. There will be more polls coming out, and I really appreciate the engagement on those, and it's very helpful. Shout out to Derek C. Williams. Thank you so much for all your support. Shout out to Console Fix for coming in. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you for all that you do. And yes, if you get a chance, keep checking in with the community tab. Also, keep checking in with your Patreon tab. Also, I am coming up with the prototypes for some merch. You know, I might show up one day and wear the merch once I get it going on. I got a couple of ideas for merch, and we'll see. Shout out to the definition of anarchy. Thank you so much for coming in. Let's see. I think I missed a lot. It's Luciano, a lot of people that were in earlier. Yeah, Luciano. Shout out to everybody in the stream. And I will do that one other thing that I mentioned to do. Thank you so much, Derek C. Williams. I really appreciate it. So let me go on here and grab before I close this out because I'm probably going to reset. If all goes well, there's a chance that I might do a moonlight stream tonight. I'll probably do commit to an hour on it. And I will post it. I will post a notification on that early. So if you get a chance to come in, you can come in. If not tonight, definitely there'll be another night in the week that I'll be doing a night stream. So I want to share once again. Thank the loyal patrons. Shout out to Derek C. Williams, Killer Well Channels, the Angel Munez Variety Show, the Definition of Anarchy, Sandy K, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, and the newest member, Gary L. Young Keys. Thank you guys so much for all that you do, for supporting the channel. And like I said, I'll be putting together some ideas. Thanks so much, Touchdown Sean. Thank you. I'm going to be putting together some ideas for the merch, and we'll see what you guys are interested in. And yeah, like I said, the fall will be around, and you might be into long sleeves or I don't know. We'll see. But keep an eye on your community tab for more on that, and as well as other polls that will be coming up. And then maybe I think there'll be some announcements coming out, and hopefully you guys will be all able to attend. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and that you will take care of yourself. Until next time, Let's see. Cold War Jesus says, what is your maximum upload speed? Kind of looks like a bandwidth problem. Not sure from here. You know what? I thought I knew. I think you're right. And I will address that with the ISP because I think they're pulling one on me a little bit. And I need to say, I need something else. This is not working. It's not working out like you said it was. So I need something else. I need you to step it up a little bit. So I think it's pretty slow. They told me that I had the fastest, but I don't think so. And I had them out last week. And they didn't replace anything. So maybe we need to make some other changes. But thank you guys so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Once again, have a great day and keep an eye out for more to come. Community tab or the Patreon.